In terms of abstraction, I want to follow Alicia's comments here because she's very honest and straightforward about something that's critically important when it comes to abstraction that many people feel, which is, so it seems so easy to create. It seems so easy to create, even though it's difficult to comprehend. I like that juxtaposition that she's offering. That's something that for us as viewers is difficult to understand, seems like the artist had an easy time making it. So I think we feel a little, as she's suggesting, a little like set up. Are we being scammed by this abstract artwork, right? And, she goes on to talk about we are all initially taught what great art should look like. Absolutely. That is, again, the critical point, is what is the artwork asking of the viewer and what is the viewer expecting of the art? And Alicia very astutely brings up Kandinsky as a great example of this tension, because we understand this to be bursting with meaning, and yet we also feel as if, well, squiggles and triangles and blue circles, that's certainly not the same thing as Harnett creating this magical simulacra of the real world, which we know took all this skill that I certainly couldn't do with laying on the paint to create the shadow and getting everything just right in its proportions and measure. Whereas all these free-flowing improvisations feel like fun and easy, right? And I think that the textbook quote that Alicia singled out is really helpful and thought-provoking. Brilliant colors and veiled images leap and dance to express a variety of emotions and spiritualities. I think those verbs leap and dance are really important because they're suggesting that the strokes, the brush strokes, the colors, they have a dynamic quality. They do something. They do something to us in terms of how our imaginations and our emotions and our spiritual experience is activated, which is different than Harnett. Not to say that you can't have an emotion with Harnett, but there's not a leaping and a dancing of the imagination in the same way, because Kandinsky is inviting the viewer into play. Kandinsky is purposely creating forms that are so simple because their simplicity gives you room to get involved, to let your mind wander and play. Not to say, okay, that's a violin and that's hanging on a wooden door. This is like poetry, where poetry wants you to pay attention to the language itself, right? Because when poets use rhymes and sound patterns, when they use rhythm or they use certain kinds of diction and word choice, they want all of those things to be arousing an emotional quality in you, to create a kind of experience that is part of the meaning. The meaning is not just what is being said. And that's what's happening with abstraction. Abstraction is like a play of language, only it's the language of art. So the play of hard edge shapes against soft squiggles, the play of squares against circles and colors, finding the intrinsic pleasure of those and the way in which they open the doors of the imagination, which perhaps wouldn't happen as much if everything was more literal and spelled out.